So did you know that it is illegal to stop or otherwise obstruct a clergyman from participating or officiating at a religious ceremony? Well, I didn't, and I thought I would have a look at the criminal code to see what, if anything, it said about this, because there's been a lot of news of church services being halted, or just generally religious services being halted or shut down, people getting tickets for participating or officiating at religious ceremonies, holding church, Christmas services, that kind of thing. So I thought, let's have a look. Now, my colleague Andrew Lawton has covered this issue a lot on his show, and I definitely recommend that you check out some of his videos. But I thought I would pull up the criminal code, and I actually found that section 176 says exactly that. It says, and I'll quote, "Every person is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for a term of not more than 2 years, or is guilty of an offense punishable on summary conviction who, by threats of force, unlawfully obstructs or prevents or endeavors to obstruct or prevent an officiant from celebrating a religious or spiritual service or performing any other function in connection with their calling, or knowing that an officiant is about to perform, is on their way to perform, or is returning from the performance of any of the duties or functions mentioned in paragraph A, assaults or offers violence to them, or arrests them on a civil process or under the pretense of executing a civil process." And there's also a section right underneath that basically says that you cannot disturb a religious service. So it says, and again, I'll quote, "Everyone who willfully disturbs or interrupts an assemblage of persons met for religious worship or for a moral, social, or benevolent purpose is guilty of an offense punishable on summary conviction." All right, so in layman's terms, basically, you cannot stop a clergyman. You cannot find some reason to stop or obstruct, assault them, or find some civil process reason to stop them from participating or officiating at their religious service. Now, this begs a lot of questions because every province has some set of emergency rules. They've passed some, emergency act or some laws or rules that basically allow them to declare a state of emergency. And because there's now a state of emergency, things are different. You can shut businesses down, you can order different closures. And so this actually sets up a very interesting question. And this is why I wanted to bring it up. Not because I want to necessarily advocate for one position or another, but because I find it very interesting that we have this in the criminal code, and that this may be fertile ground for a lawsuit or someone to appeal possibly all the way up to the Supreme Court. Now, if we stop and think about it for a moment, the very fact that it is phrased in such a way that obstructing or violence to arrest an officiating clergyman, right? So it basically says that you're guilty of an offense if you want to obstruct someone. That almost implies that there's a right there, right? There's a very important right. And if you look at the charter, the right for freedom of conscience and religion, that's section 2, but that's the first part. So 2A, freedom of conscience and religion, followed by right after freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, including freedom of the press and other media of communication. So glad you're checking us out here on True North Independent Media. We are doing just that. But this is a very interesting question. Which one of these rights is going to dominate? Now, there's a couple of questions in my mind because, again, certain things, there might be an emergency, but this emergency has been going on for a long time. Does that make a difference? There are safety rules in place, wearing masks, social distancing, hand sanitizing, that kind of stuff. Is that going to make a difference? There's a lot of things that might make a difference should this thing be brought up to the Supreme Court or just in general to a court. Now, a couple of other things to consider is the question of essential services. Now, there's a petition on change.org that basically is asking that church be made an essential service. And that might be a question whether or not church would fall, or any religious, practice or setting would be an essential service, because it might fall under, for example, mental health. You might want to make that argument, right? That'd be something that I might want to try. There might be questions with regards to just certain charitable services that churches or other religious institutions are going to be offering, and whether or not that's allowed. So there's a lot of questions with regard to churches and religious institutions being allowed to operate during these times. And I think it's very interesting that the criminal code provides a direct instruction that you cannot stop or obstruct a clergyman or clergy person, if we want to be really politically correct, from officiating or participating in a religious service. Now, again, I'm not aware of any cases that are headed up or at the very, to the Supreme Court, or just generally I'm not aware of any cases. But with the tickets coming out, again, check out tnc.news for some of those stories. With a number of churches being ticketed, a number of officiants being ticketed. It's a really interesting question, and I'm curious to see what is going to happen. And let me know in the comments, what do you think? Do you think that religious services should be an essential service? Do you think that we should make some exemptions, or at the very least put them in a different category than other services because they are so important to so many Canadians? So a lot of stuff to think about. Again, as always, this video is going to, it's a little different because I'm really just asking the question and I want to see what's going to happen, but I'm sure that you are curious as well. So thank you so much for watching. Again, for True North, I am Sam Eskenasi. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with all the latest and greatest videos from True North. Thanks so much again for watching, and have yourselves a really great day.